One.
Hey everybody,
Hey.
how you guys doing?
All
Not
good.
too bad. You?
We're doing good. Well, I'll get it started off. I am Brian, everybody. I am a customer success manager at Process Street. We have Ellie, Blake, and Gustavo, who are also process pros as well. So yeah, want to welcome everybody. We hope you're enjoying our first ever virtual event, Highway 2021. Want to thank Ann and Pauline for doing an amazing job. Dad jokes, Fresh Prince reference. That's my generation, and I probably was close to guessing it. So I'll have to see if I can get some swag as well out of that. So just a reminder, pop your questions in the chat. We'll do our best to answer all of them. But yeah, we can get started. We'll go a quick round of introductions. So again, I'm Brian, Customer Success Manager at Process Street. I've come from a SaaS and IT background. So yeah, helping build processes for you. Come into chat support. Some of you I probably spoke with before. I saw a few of my customers in here. So look forward to answering those questions and helping you. Now, if you've been in the virtual event most of the day, you've probably seen and heard from Blake, but I'll let Blake introduce himself again, and then Ellie and Gustavo.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so my name is Blake Bailey. I was the first CS team member here at Process Street. And since then, I've just been doing still a bit more of CS, some RevOps, and just working on some special projects as well. All right, Ellie.
Hey, nice to be here. My name's Ellie. I was working on the CS team until very recently, and I've just made a switch over to the product team. So keep
We
your
don't
feature
forgive
requests
you.
coming into the chat. Thank you very much.
Well, my name is Gustavo Amaral. I'm based in Brazil. I've been working here for almost 2 years already, so time flies, doesn't it? And I'm part of the Process Pro teams. Process Pro is really just a fancy name for our support team. So maybe we already met, in chat or email. So just super happy to have you all here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So let's get some of those questions fired off if you have any. If not, you'll get to hear some of us go over some of our tips and tricks and best processes. So while we're waiting for some of those questions to come in, I'll get it started. So favorite features in Process Street. Mine, Pauline just touched on it. I do have a background in IT, but I'm not the best coder. So conditional logic, I love just the ability to go in and build and hide. And we do have people when we kind of show them that, they're like, you're coding. I'm like, not really, but I just love the fact that we can change and make workflows dynamic so that you can have one workflow, serve a variety of purposes and teams, and just, yeah, keep things organized, but the ability to apply it to different teams or departments and make it work for what you need.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say that mine is actually the fact that you can integrate Process Street with so many things using both our internal automations, which I won't talk more about, but Zapier also, obviously we heard from Wade Foster a little bit earlier, and you could do literally trillions of different things just by connecting Process Street with all the different tools that you already use. And that's kind of my shtick, and I love it.
The automation guru in the team. Yeah, I'll definitely second both of those. Conditional logic is one of our most powerful features. And when we added on the addition to be able to use conditional logic on content as well as tasks and headings, I think that was quite a game changer for quite a lot of our customers. So yeah, that's a great one. Also for me, I think the snippet field, when we introduced that, the snippet form field, I should say. We introduced that when we launched automations, and that allows you to do lots of stuff like combining static text and variable information into your automations. So yeah, they're my favorites.
Yeah, I do love snippets as well. It's awesome to sort of let everyone in the company know in the Slack channel, hey, we have a new deal or we have something new happening here. So awesome. I will mention very quickly about the activity log we have. Let me ask you guys, Brian, Blake, Ellie, how many times have you deleted something by mistake or by accident?
More than I care to admit.
Once or twice.
Once we spent like the whole day like scanning old photos and stuff and saving it, and my dad accidentally deleted everything. So not a very good story. But if it ever happens to you in Process Street, it might happen eventually. We're not perfect creatures. So if it ever happens with you, no worries. Our engineering team, our product team has developed a very nice activity log. So if you ever delete something by mistake, maybe a workflow or a workflow run, no worries, no panic. You can always go to the activity log and have it easily restored. So it might happen, you might have someone new in the team and they think they're in the workflow run, but they are actually in the workflow template. So if they deleted it, boomer, not a very good thing to have happen in your company. But if it does work, if it does happen, just go to the activity log and you can easily have it restored. So shout out to the engineers for having that.
Awesome. Thanks, Gustavo. Terry, you, yes, use conditional logic, but would love to see some powerful tricks that we've built into our workflows. So yeah, that's perfect timing. We're going to cover some tips and tricks. So I can start with this. So feature request we do get a lot is kind of read-only access. So we currently don't have it, but a workaround would be to kind of either hide those tasks and then create a summary task. So you can use variables to pull that in, and that way you can put that in for somebody else to see. So that's one kind of internal task that we use here. Some of our clients use it. And I'm sure other people have plenty, but that's one that I can start with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's so many. I was actually just looking. I have a whole list of these. I was trying to review to give out some good ones there. Yeah, I think one of the ones that I really like. This is a weird one, but if at any point in your process you are having to go out to, say, I don't know, Google or any other sort of tool that you use, or you need to search for something, and that data is already inside of your process. So you've collected a client's name, maybe somebody's email address, something like that. You can pass that value in using variables into a text content widget. And you can then merge that automatically with a search link for that service. So that way you automatically have a dynamic link that you can just click at any time right from your process. It'll take you immediately into the search results in whatever service you're trying to use. That's one of like 100 that I have, but that's one that I just looked up that I'm like, that one's a good one that I feel like most people don't know.
Definitely.
Maybe you want to have a secret task in your workflow. I don't know, you might want to keep some data private or some relevant details about your client, but you don't want to make it accessible for everyone in the workflow. Of course, you can use task permissions to control the visibility of tasks inside a workflow, but if you have more admins in the organization, if you really want to have like a private task, I once saw a customer using conditional logic for setting up sort of a password field for enabling a task. So you can easily accomplish this using conditional logic. So you can simply use a text field. If the text equals your password, 123, whatever, then you can make a task pop up in the process, and then you can have it gone after deleting whatever you typed in there. So that's a nice trick, something unusual. I've seen that might come in handy for you as well.
Really good. Ellie, you're up.
Yeah, I just wondered how many people know that you can actually use conditional logic to affect rules based off of numbers. So let's say, for example, if this field starts with a 9, then show this content. There are some extra features in conditional logic that I think maybe some people aren't that familiar with. Like, we're quite commonly using hiding tasks in form fields and content within there. But you can also use text fields and say, like, look up a match. If the phrase entered into the form field says XYZ, show this. So there's lots of other sort of deeper kind of uses for conditional logic, which maybe some people who are just starting getting used to it aren't necessarily familiar with. So check out the help article that Jason just shared. There's some really good insights in there. And it tells you all the fields that you can use and all the kind of different variations of conditional logic rules that you can set up. So yeah, really powerful feature.
Awesome. Along those lines, yeah, I can dive into another tip is that we sometimes use a hidden task at the start of a workflow, and you can put fields in there that serve as triggers for other tasks. So if you don't need to show them, hide it specifically just for yourself, put those fields in. So one example is we have dynamic due dates. We currently don't have static due dates, but I could put a due date in that hidden field and refer that back to make a static date in a future task. So You can put a variety of information, hide that task. It's only for your personal information, but I can pull that in with variables or other things to tie back to them later. But other users who might be using that task don't see it because it's only relevant to yourself.
Yeah, it's really good. I would say actually there's a couple other ones. One, I'm actually going to cheat and give two here. One is the ability to quick create tasks inside of Process Street. So if you're building out your workflows for the first time, obviously it can be a little bit difficult. Obviously, we have all these pre-made workflows that you can work with there. But what I do recommend is that if you've got them in something like Excel or Google Sheets, like so where each row is a task, a lot of people don't know this, but if you literally just copy the entire column with all of those tasks as rows, you can literally go to Process Street without even adding in blank tasks. It just paste it directly inside of the task, inside of the editor. It will create one task per row automatically. And that can create, hundreds of tasks without you having to do any additional work, copy paste directly into there. Really, really awesome little feature there that I don't think we really have out there as a really public thing, but we really should.
Well, there is in the Help Center. If you go,
oh, look at you! You would
look for how to build a workflow and run it in 10 minutes. There's an example there of how you can copy and paste from a Google Sheet or an Excel file. So go check it out. Process.s3/help.
And gentlemen, the person who pretty much writes all of our help articles. There you go. That's right. You would know
most of it.
True. But no, yeah, definitely most. I would say the other one, I'd obviously have to talk about automations. The ability to, you could schedule things with Zapier, update things with Zapier. I really, really like the idea that some people will do this where, say you have a process where it may hang for a really long time. So basically just kind of stay open for a while, and it may or may not, need to be open for that long. What a lot of people will do, this is a really interesting thing, is that they will basically trigger a automation. It could be a Zap in this case, usually, to basically hit a delay in something like Zapier, wait a little while after, after a particular task is checked, or maybe after the workflow is run, and then it can go back and check that same workflow run, see if there's any updates, see if something, if a particular task is finished or a particular form field has a particular value. And if it does or doesn't, it can then, for example, close it out automatically. And that's a really great way to basically keep your organization clean so you don't have a bunch of just hanging workflow runs. Any others out there? There you go.
I got one from Oliver on our marketing team, and also just a great tip that if you use a lot of different tools and you just want to reference them really quickly from within your Process Street workflow runs or your workflows, you can actually embed things like Airtable, maps, Google Sheets, charts like Lucidchart, things like that. So if you just want to have that kind of tool embedded in your workflows, you can have those accessible, and you can update them and kind of see them synced live within your workflows as well. So use the embed widget when you're editing your workflows, and that's a really cool feature. Hopefully we'll have that coming to Pages soon, because from the looks of some of the features requests earlier on in the session, I think that'll be a good one to have in the Pages as well.
Wonderful. And Lori just mentioned that also in a Google Doc, the bulleted tasks can also carry over. So something we learned as well today. So thanks for sharing that, Lori. We had a question about if we can do a walkthrough and show you some of the hacks that we're doing. Unfortunately, we're not going to do a screen share today, but you can go to support, ask us to schedule a demo. We can definitely spend some time walking you through some of these hacks, or send you videos or things like that. We'd definitely be more than happy to take that offline. So send us an email, support@process.st, or come into support, and usually one or all of us will be in there, and we can answer those questions for you and set up a time to walk you through some of these hacks. I can jump in with another one. So in reports, we currently don't have the ability to go in and see what fields have been populated. You can't search and filter for if Bob Smith filled out his name or his email and things like that. So what you do is you create a report, and if you filter by a single workflow, it gives you the option to search by the fields and the tasks. And then so once you've built that out, you can Control F and search for that information. So it's limited to one workflow, but if you have a bunch of workflows that have run and you're looking for particular information, a form field that somebody may have filled out and you're not quite sure, pull those into that dropdown and then Control F and search.
I have another one as well, which,
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, please, you go ahead.
Yeah, I know a lot of people work from their inbox. Some people maybe work from the reports area. I'm not sure. But in the inbox, there's a kind of a slightly hidden feature, which some of you may not be aware of. If you hover over a task or an approval or a whole workflow run, if you hover over on that left-hand side, you'll see like a little checkbox appear, and you can multi-select items within your inbox. And by doing that, you can either complete them if there are no required fields or stop tasks in that workflow run. So you can complete them if they're free of those items. But you can also snooze things. So that effectively changes the due date on a task or on a workflow run. And you can push that into next week, next month, date of your choosing. So you can effectively kind of reorganize your work that way. And also, if you haven't assigned due dates to certain tasks or to certain workflow runs, then that's a really quick way of actually putting dates on them and actually pushing them into people's inboxes with the dates that they need to get the job done by. So another little secret tip, check out the article on our inbox for more information.
If I may, another quick tip regarding exporting the data you collected using your workflows. If you go into the reports area, the dashboard, you can develop any sort of report to, see whatever you completed in the past or what your team is currently completing. But if you want to have that data you collected, maybe you have a bunch of forms in your workflow, but you want to have that data somewhere else, how would you do that? If you go into the reports area and if you just make sure you're selecting one workflow, one template in the dashboard, you will be able to add some roles from existing forms in your workflow. So this means you can have the whole form exported into a very nice spreadsheet along with whatever data you want to have exported from your workflows. So if you can't see specific forms in the columns area, just make sure you have one workflow selected, that one you're looking for, and then once you do that, you will be able to individually pick what forms you want to include in this report to be exported. So that's one killer feature as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Gustavo. Ellie, Lori had a question. Can you snooze if you're a guest?
Yeah, I was just looking into that because guests do have their own inboxes. So I think they can. However, Laurie, if you want to message me on ellie@process.sd, I'll get back to you personally with a response.
You just went and gave out your email address to the whole
No,
world.
to exactly thousands of people.
Michael did it earlier. I'm just following, what my boss did.
Exactly.
Oh,
this is your curse for leaving us. Spend her all emails, please, everybody.
Brian@process.sd.
With a Y.
Oh, good. So yeah, actually, everyone, if you can, go ahead and start posting your questions there. We'd love to hear what sort of challenges are you facing inside of Process Street. What are some of the things that you're dealing with that you just have questions on that you're like, hey, I don't know how to fix this. We'll try and answer as much as we can here. So I'm looking through to see what we got.
I see a very nice question from Blake Thorne. How can we use workflows to effectively run meetings? So we actually do have like a weekly meeting in our team, and we already know what we are going to discuss because we have everything mapped out in a workflow, in a very nice workflow. So one day prior to the meeting date, we have like a preparation part. So it is scheduled to be run one day before the actual meeting happens. So we already know, everyone knows what they're going to share, what to include in the meeting. And when it's finally time to run the meeting, we already know what we are going to discuss, what icebreakers we will use to just have a very nice start to the meeting and so forth. So everyone involved in the meeting already know what will be discussed, already know, you won't have like a meeting starting like, okay, so what are we going to discuss today? Now, everything is mapped out, ready to go. So just start the meeting and follow the workflow. So that's a very nice usage of workflows during meetings.
Wonderful. Thanks, Gustavo. Blake, we have a question. Maybe you can field this one. So as we know, reporting capabilities can be very long when, you have long 500 plus workflows. Some of our clients have. So yeah, tips for kind of helping Emily with that.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, so realistically, when it comes to reporting, there's three basic options inside of Process Street, not counting the ability to just basically manually export and then put it wherever you want that way. So if we're talking more or less automatic ways, the first way is using the actual reports tab inside of Process Street. If you select, say, just one workflow at a time, you actually can filter out very specifically down to, I only want to see, these tasks, these form fields, and order that exactly however you like it, then save those views and share them across your team. And that's built into Process Street itself, so you all have access to that immediately. That's a really, really great way to just see reports. That's without doing anything additional. Now, the other two options, if you need something a little bit more, a little bit different potentially, the next two options, one, you can use something like Zapier to automatically push the data out of Process Street whenever things like maybe tasks are checked off. You can automatically have that data pushed out to something like Airtable. It's a very common one that we've built before. The other option, that's sort of the most fully fledged option, may be the option for you in this case. So if you've got just a really big workflow, you've got a lot of different workflows all together, and you've just got a ton of data and you want to be able to basically see what's happening with it, what we have is what's called the reporting API. We released that earlier this year. That allows you to pull all of your data from Process Street, all of it, literally just all of it, at basically any interval that you like, and pull it into any tool that you want, like Tableau, Looker, etc., and then create any kind of dashboards that you're interested in seeing. So that's a huge feature. It is on our enterprise plan, but it's incredibly powerful. And so that's the other option. So basically, that's the three levels there: reports, Zapier, or the enterprise reporting API.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Blake.
Of course.
I had a question on if we can share the meeting workflow. Yeah, we'll definitely put a note in there if we don't have one in the library of that, or if not, we can share one that we've created and we can send that to you. So I'll put a note. If somebody wants to write that down, we can get that sent over to you. Terry, thanks. Yeah, great comment. Putting a summary, as we mentioned before, another way kind of to create either a read-only task or for an approvals, or if, you just want to quickly pull all that information from a workflow without having to go task by task, create a summary task, use your variables, put it all in there, and you can even just title it summary task. Just again, quick, easy way to see a snapshot of everything that you've collected in that workflow in one task. And again, the options with automations, you could push that somewhere else, as Blake mentioned, to Airtable, Google Sheet, Excel. So yeah, depending on which automation you want to use, either native or via Zapier. And then Gabrielle mentioned, speaking of meetings or how to avoid them, we have syncs here daily with our teams. And sometimes people are busy, but we use Process Street for those. So if somebody misses a meeting, they have their own task in there. They can update that information. And so if they do get called into another meeting, we're not sure what they're doing, they quickly fill out that task and everybody sees that their updates. We use Slack as well. So then that obviously when they complete that task, it goes to Slack. So if we need help or something, we can see, hey, Blake is wrapped up in meetings all day. He's not gonna be able to help me. So I can go somebody else and we can just knock things out that way without obviously having to physically join that meeting. So thanks for that, Gabriel.
I got one here from Jacqueline. So this is I'll just this one super quick. If an automation fails to run, is there an alert that gets sent anywhere? So if you're using Process Street's automations, it will actually tell you right then up in the top corner while you're inside of the workflow run rather, when you check off a task, for example, and that triggers maybe an update to Salesforce. If that fails, you'll see it. It'll actually tell you up in the little thing. It'll spin. It'll tell you that it failed. It'll tell you why. If you're using Zapier instead, obviously you can use basically what's their task manager to see what's happening there. But you can also set up alerts using what's called Zapier Manager, so that when a Zap fails, it can automatically update a Slack channel, for example. That's actually what we do here to make sure that we're on top of all of those.
Awesome. And it looks like we have another question for Blake, the automation wizard. Is it possible to get people imported from a signed legal agreement into our CRM, deduplicated from a new versus existing records if they already exist in a CRM? So multiple steps going on there.
Yeah. So the challenge, and I know exactly where you're coming from. The big challenge there is the fact that a legal agreement, say for example in HelloSign or DocuSign, typically those by the time that you're getting it, potentially those fields may be basically just built into the overall document. So it's not like it's like a single field that you can pull out. So what I recommend, if you're able to, and I have to look at your process for this, but basically if you're able to capture that data as disparate data points, so the first name, last name, the signing date, whatever it might be, you want to be able to capture that maybe at the same time that you're creating maybe your DocuSign document, maybe using a Process Street automation. So they go to sign it, you've already got the data in there, and then you can push that into the CRM to create or update if you choose. And create or update, that's something that you can do typically using Zapier if you're not using Salesforce. But if you're using Salesforce, you can use either Zapier or Process Street.
Wonderful. Thanks, Blake. We are just about at time. So thank you so much for joining us with our Process Pros chat. Thank you guys all for helping and providing tips as well. Great questions. Any questions you want to chat, you can email us at support@process.st or come into chat, and we'd be more than willing to happy to help with you. Jump on Zoom calls, schedule support calls. We're here to help. And yeah, keep providing those questions and feedback, and enjoy the rest of Highway. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
All right. Hey again, everybody. That was super fun. Do I have a delay here? Can you hear me okay? I think I've got like a little delay going on, but hopefully you guys can hear me. So fun hearing. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So fun hearing from the team and having them part of this. So yeah, keep sending your questions in. You can always reach us at support@process.st. And it's also, when you're in Process Street, it's the little button in the bottom right corner, brings you to the same place to chat with our team. Okay, so my mouth isn't matching up with my words, but sorry about that, but hopefully you're hearing what I'm saying. So just a couple announcements or just recaps of some resources that we have that have popped up. Zapier, we got to talk to the co-founder and CEO of Zapier earlier. There is a first ever free user conference that Zapier is putting on, so check that out. That's at go.zapier.com/zapconnect. Pages we've been talking about all day, super excited about that. Process.st/pages. Vinay mentioned in the very beginning, we are hiring. So if you know anybody that you think would be an awesome fit for the Process Street team, you can refer them to process.st/jobs. So just some resources for you. In this next session, I get to pull an Austin Powers and allow myself to introduce myself, because I'm presenting our next session, which is about mastering workflow design. And it's what I've learned building processes for hundreds of teams. So, we just got to hear from the team on the panel about all sorts of hacks and tips and tricks and ways that you can leverage the features to get certain outcomes that you want in your workflows. And this next session is going to be kind of just like how to think through workflows altogether. So I won't say anything more about it because I'll share more about that in this session. And Ryan says, who would not want to work for Process Street after an amazing event like this? Got to agree. Yep, thanks, Blake, for posting the session. So we've got about 1 minute. I think what we're going to do is a quick trivia question. Pauline is working with a customer, so she says. I think she's practicing her routine for her dad joke stand-up tour, but she left me with some trivia questions. So I'm just going to ask one question. The first person to answer this question is going to get a prize, and that prize is either picking out some merch of your choice, or it is getting a VIP strategy session with one of our process pros. So here's the question. Which mammal does not have vocal cords? Which mammal does not have vocal cords? First person to answer that correctly wins a prize, and you can just pop it in the chat and I'll announce the winner after this. We're going to go ahead and queue up the next session by me, and we'll see you soon. Oh, Samra. Samra wins. All right. We'll see you soon in the next session.